Hello and welcome to Needful Things Again. Today we're going to be working on some ribbing, and you can use it for the bottom of sweaters, hats, or wherever you'd like to. I'm going to call this Needful Things Again Ribbing because it's one of my favorite ribbings, and I didn't have a pattern for it. I didn't get it from anyone else, so I'm sure somebody else has done it, and it may even have a name. So I'm not trying to start a war, I'm just saying that's what I'm calling it, so that when I do a project, you'll be able to come back to this video and find it, because it's called Needful Things Again Ribbing, and it's my favorite ribbing. So here we go. I have a size 9 if you're in the UK, size I if you're not. So we're going to do a slip knot. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. I'm doing it a little bit bigger than I normally would do a ribbing, unless it was the bottom of a sweater, because I want you to be able to see it. So we've done 13, so we're going to go into the second chain from the hook, and we're going to do single crochets all the way down the row. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. Chain 1 and turn your work. Now this is going to seem really strange to you if you're used to making a certain kind of ribbing all the time, because you're so used to working in back loops probably, and we are going to do some of that, but not right now. So now what we're going to do, we've turned our work, we've chained 1 and turned our work. We're going to go through the entire in the first stitch right here, first stitch, pull up a loop, and we're going to do a slip stitch. Go into the next one, pull up a loop, slip stitch, and we're going to slip stitch all the way across the row, all 12 stitches. And I would suggest that you always count your stitches when you're doing ribbing, and especially this one, because you don't want to have a cockeyed ribbing, because maybe no one else will see it, but you'll always know it's there, and you really need to do good work. So we're going to go all the way down to the end with our slip stitches. On the top, we're going all the way through our top of our stitch, both bars. Slip stitch, and the last one, go all the way through. Slip stitch, chain 1, turn your work. And now what we have here is the chain we just put on there is right there. And here's the other top of the stitch that we have in the back there, which is actually the front. So this, what we're going to do is almost like a ridge. So we're going to push this chain right here forward. So we're going to go into the back, all the way into the back loop here. So we have this loop, this loop. This would be a back loop, not that one. Go all the way back to this, it looks like a chain here, and so we'll go all the way into that back stitch there. And we're going to do single crochets all the way down the row in that back loop. Single crochet, back loop, single crochet, back loop, single crochet. So see, it's pushing that chain forward. You can see that, it's pushing it forward. So make sure we have the chain here, roll it over, we got the 2 bars, and then if you look behind it, there's a whole, looks like another chain on top of it. The back loop of that one is the one we're going into. Single crochet all the way down. Just continue till you get to the end, all 12 stitches. Make sure that you're counting your stitches, because you really don't want to have one not be in the right place. And it's a beautiful ribbing, and once you get used to doing it, you're going to be addicted to it and you're going to always want to use it. Get to the end, we're going to chain one, turn our work. So what we're doing here is we started with a single crochet row. We just did a single crochet row here. So we chain, turn our work. We're going to go all the way through the single crochet, both bars, and slip stitch in the very first stitch. We always start in the first stitch and slip stitch all the way down. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. Chain one, turn your work. Now we're going to do a single crochet row. Like before, we're going to push that chain forward. We're going to go all the way to the very one in the very, very back there. Single crochet. It's not that back loop, it's this back loop. Single crochet, single crochet, single crochet, single crochet, single crochet in the far back loop. I'm going to call that the far back loop because maybe that'll be easier for you to figure it out, because it's not the back loop that you're normally used to doing probably, but you have a double chain there. So in our last stitch, oops, sorry about that. We're in our last stitch. Make sure I'm in that back loop to do my single crochet, chain one, and turn your work. And here's what we're making. Isn't that beautiful? It's a beautiful pattern for ribbing. If you love knitting stitches, but you really don't like to knit or can't knit, I can knit. I just don't like it very much. That's beautiful, isn't it? And so we'll do a little bit more. We've chained one. So what we're doing here is we always start with the single crochet row. And we're going to alternate. It's just alternating. One row of single crochets, one row of slip stitches. Single crochet, slip stitch, single crochet. And now we're going to do the slip stitch row. Turn our work. And we're going through the entire stitch. Both bars of the single crochet, you see. Slip stitch. And we'll slip stitch all the way across our row, ending with 12 slip stitches, just like before. And once you get going, like with any of this type ribbing, for whatever you're doing it for, it's much easier once you get a piece that you can sort of hold onto with your fingers. Because in the beginning, you don't have a lot of stitches there. So we're in the last stitch here. Go through both bars of the stitch, slip stitch, chain one, turn your work. And what we're doing with that single crochet just sort of pushes that stitching forward, so it gives you that beautiful finish. So we're going all the way, not in this one, that would be a loop there. You see, that would be a back loop, but that's not the one we're using. We're going, and then there's another row that looks like a whole another row of slip stitches there. That's the back loop we're going into. Pull up a loop, do a single crochet. Pull up a loop, single crochet. Pull up a loop, single crochet. All the way down, we're doing our single crochets just like before. And we'll reach the end of this row, and we will chain one and turn our work. It's very simple and yet very effective, and it's a beautiful stitch for all your needs of ribbing, whatever that may be. I have some other things I'm going to show you what to do with this stitch later. Not in this video, but in another one. Okay, chain one, that was our single crochet row. and little single crochets. Turn your work. Now we're going to do our slip stitch row. Start in the first stitch always, slip stitch, all the way down. Make sure you're going through your entire top of your single crochet, because I know when you get used to doing, the back loop work, you never want to go through that whole stitch anymore. It's just a muscle memory thing. So it might feel a little odd at first. Chain one, turn your work. Now we're going to do our single crochet row in the far back loop. All the way down to the end of the row as always. Chain one, turn your work. That was our single crochets. Now we're going to do our slip stitches again. We've already done one chain, so we're going to go into the very first stitch, work a slip stitch, work your slip stitches all the way across the row to the very last stitch. I apologize for all the extra white noise you might be hearing in this video, because there's a really bad thunderstorm and I'm trying not to let you hear that. I do live in a tropical location where it's the rainy season. Okay, chain one, turn our work. We're back to our single crochet row, which we will always be doing from the front, and then the loop stitches, the slip stitches, we're doing when we're in the back. That might help you to keep your rows in order, because sometimes you can forget which row you're working on. So we're going to do our slip stitches in the far back loop. Single crochets, far back loop. And I might not be counting out loud, but I do also count quietly sometimes. I don't think counting is a bad thing. If you mess up enough stitches, you'll start counting everything you do. I mean, you can not count, but I'd rather not go back and fix mistakes. And here's what we're making. Isn't that a beautiful, beautiful pattern for ribbing for sweaters or like, the bottom of a hat? And it has a good stretch this way, not too much, but just enough. And it has a little bit of stretch that way, so that's good. That's a very beautiful ribbing there. And here's what the back looks like. So I'm going to do a little bit more, and you can just have a look-see while I'm doing it. Do my chain one, turn my work. I'm on my slip stitch row. And I am going to do I'm working on a hat pattern for you, like a beanie knit hat cap type thing. And I will be using this ribbing, so you might want to start practicing, because I'm not going to be teaching you how to do this ribbing in that video, which is one of the reasons I made this video. So we did our slip stitches all the way down, chain one, turn your work. Now we're going to be working our single crochets in the far back loop, all the way down our row. It also helps if you have a really good hook that has a nice point on it. That helps you get into stitches. That's another reason I love Susan Bates hooks. I wish Susan Bates would hear me and know how much I love her hooks and send me 1,000 of them. Well, maybe not 1,000. Better be careful. But I do love them. I buy them every time I find one. Okay, so we're at the end. Chain 1 and turn your work. That was our row of single crochets. Now we're in the back on our row of single crochets. We're going to do our slip stitches. Starting in the first stitch, we've already done our chain on the other side. You know, if you're someone who crochets really with tight tension, it would probably do you justice to practice this before you go trying to jump into a project with it, because you need to learn how to loosen up your tension. And that just about with anything. I mean, there are times when you can tighten it up and it's required, but I don't know that many, so. Chain 1, turn your work. Now we're on our single crochet row in the far back loop. In the very first stitch, we're always in that very first stitch. Single crochets. Chain 1, turn your work. Ooh. Untangle my yarn here. I got it hanging from the, I was going to say the ceiling, but it's not. Okay, we chained 1. We're going to do our first slip stitch. Chain 1, turn your work. We're on our single crochet row in the far back loop. And you probably have it by now. I think you should have gotten the idea by now. So you need to just practice and enjoy using this pattern. You can call it whatever you want. Somebody may already have a name for it, but I told you what I'm calling it. Chain 1, turn your work. And now we're on, that was our single crochet row. Now we're on the back on our slip stitch row. We've already chained 1, so we're going to go in that first stitch, slip stitch. Oops, got caught in the wrong there. And so there we have it. It's a beautiful ribbing. what the front looks like. And here's the back. It's a great pattern, it's very easy, it's beginner friendly. And I think it makes a really nice ribbing for a sweater or a hat. It's my favorite. So I'm calling it Needful Things Again Ribbing. My favorite ribbing. So I hope you enjoy the pattern. I'll see you soon to make the hat. Have a great day.